Hi, my name is Allison Hopper.
And I'm Karen Strawn. We're with the Dixon Gallery and Gardens. And today we're going to take a closer look at the process of photosynthesis. We're going to walk you through some of the basics and then create our own 3D paper sculpture model.
So, we're going to talk about what is photosynthesis. This is the process by which green plants and some other organisms use sunlight to synthesize foods from carbon dioxide and water. And so, let's look at the parts of the process of photosynthesis. So, the first one is the plants draw up water through its roots. So, you can see at the bottom of the picture where the water takes up the water from the roots and goes up. The leaves take in CO2 from the air. Then the leaves trap energy from the sunlight. The plant uses the energy of sunlight to turn water and CO2 into sugars and oxygen. The plant releases oxygen into the air. And then on the last step, the plant uses the sugars for growth, as you can see in the photo. And so now we're going to see photosynthesis on a little bit on a cellular level. During the process of photosynthesis, cells use carbon dioxide and energy from the sun to make sugar molecules and oxygen. These sugar molecules are the basis for more complex molecules made by the photosynthetic cell, such as glucose. And so, why is photosynthesis important? First, photosynthesis helps plants produce their own food. Then, plants are the first step in the food chain. We cannot make our own food. We must get our food from plants. And the oxygen released during photosynthesis is necessary for all living things. Photosynthesis is also important to living organisms because it is the number one source of oxygen in the atmosphere. Green plants and trees use photosynthesis to make food from sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water in the atmosphere. It is their primary source of energy.
So, photosynthesis, important for plants, important for us, important for all living things. All right, now that we have an overview, let's break it down into individual components and make a cool piece of art in the process. First things first, gather a few materials. Colored paper if it's available, but white paper will also work. We're also going to need markers, glue stick, a pair of scissors, and a pencil. Now we're ready to start constructing. Get a sheet of paper and fold it in half. I chose green, but if you don't have green, you can also decorate a white piece of paper. No problem, whatever you have. Now draw the outline of a leaf. I'm going to choose a teardrop shape. Oops, don't forget the petiole. Now we're going to cut along the outline that we just made of that leaf. After you finish cutting, you can open them up and you should have two leaves about the same size. We're going to cut the stem off of one of them and fold it in half vertically along what would be the spine of the leaf. Give it a nice crisp little press there and set it to the side. Now we're going to take the full-size leaf and do the same fold along the spine, and then use your scissors to cut a small strip of paper off, starting just above the stem, really narrow all the way to almost the tip of the leaf. You don't want to go all the way to the tip. You'll have a slit in the middle of the leaf. Now let's take our other one without the stem and just trim off along the edge a little bit so that it slides into that slit. You may have to do a couple of trims. Just remember, don't cut all the way to the tip. Just a little bit more off here. And there we go. Now that front flap should be able to fold back and forth. I'm going to go ahead and fold it to the left, give it a crease. Now we need to secure the underside of that flap. So I'm going to turn it over, take my glue stick, add a little glue, and secure that bottom side. Now should be able to fold it back and forth inside the leaf, and this will be our front. So that we can actually remember which side is the front, but also just to add a design element, I'm going to add veins to the front of my leaf, both sides, using a marker. Now that we have our leaf, it's time to add the other players in the photosynthesis process. Enter the sun. For the sun, we'll need another sheet of paper. I'm choosing yellow. And we're going to cut 3 very narrow strips from the paper. And now we will cut those strips in half. Oop, if I can get them. There we go. Now we're going to use the accordion fold for our rays of sun. Back and forth, back and forth. So we have a little accordion. Now repeat for all the other strips. Now that we have all the rays of sun, we're going to attach them to the leaf, to the, which part? Where is the sun absorbed? You got it, the top. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we have springy sunlight coming into our leaf. Our next major player in the photosynthesis process is water. I'm choosing blue paper for this one, but you can use whatever paper you have. Again, I'm going to cut 3 narrow strips from my paper. And then I'm going to make those strips just a little bit smaller. For the water, I'm going to use a pencil and create a paper curl around the pencil. Start by holding the paper in place and then twist, twist, curl round and round the pencil. Keep twirling, pull off the end, and you have a little curly cue. I'll repeat the paper curl for all the other strips of paper. Water enters the leaf through the roots of the plant, up through the stem, and then the petiole that attaches to the leaf. So we're going to glue our water right here to the end of the petiole. Next, we're going to add our carbon dioxide. So let's pick another piece of paper, and we're going to start by drawing a circle. And then let's cut that one out. Now let's mark a dot in the center of your circle and cut a straight line from the outside to that dot. Now we'll fold back and forth from that cut edge, just like the accordion, except this time we'll have triangle shapes all the way around the circle, back and forth and back and forth. It up and you have a little fan. Now we'll do the same for oxygen. So I'm going to choose a different sheet of paper. Again, we're going to start with a circle, cut it out, a dot in the center, cut to the center, and fold back and forth, back and forth. Respiration, that's the intake of carbon dioxide and output of oxygen, both take place on the underside of the leaf through tiny pores called stomata that open and close, allowing the movement of these gases. I'm going to draw a few on the back. And then place some glue and glue my carbon dioxide coming in and the oxygen going out. Fun fact, each stoma has its own pair of bouncers called guard cells that help regulate flow. Last up are chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are responsible for taking all of these elements and making the food. For my chloroplast, I'm going to use green paper and cut out 2 strips. Okay, maybe 3 for good measure. Now I'm going to take my strips and draw the chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are found inside the cells of the plant, and they take the water and the carbon dioxide and energy from the sun and make sugars. The other byproduct is oxygen, which we just learned is released through the stomata under the leaf. Okay, I think 2 strips will be plenty for this part. Going back to our sculpture, we have sunlight coming in through the top of the leaf, water through the petiole, carbon dioxide coming in, and on the inside is where our chloroplast will live, in the inside layers of the leaf. You'll probably need to trim your strips down so that they are about the size of the leaf. There we go. Now I'm going to add some glue toward the outer edge of the leaf so it can still open and close. And then I'm going to take one of the strips, start at one end, give it a little wave up, glue down, wave up, glue down. Make sure that is secure, and then we will repeat for our other strip of chloroplast. Up and down, up and down. Give it a little trim here. Energy from the sun on the top of the leaf, water through the stem, carbon dioxide through the stomata, turned into sugars by the chloroplast, and oxygen out through the stomata. And you have now processed photosynthesis through a paper sculpture. Okay, I can't resist. Bing! You can also add some more embellishments with marker to decorate your sculpture. We hope you've enjoyed making and learning with us today and hope to see you again soon. Bye!